Hi, Steve Cooper, Rank Success, and welcome to another episode of my Police Promotion and Leadership podcast, giving you CPD on the go wherever you may be listening. My guest this week is Chief Constable Craig Guildford, QPM, who is the West Midlands Police Chief Constable. And in this episode, I interview Chief Constable Guildford and ask him a number of questions of interest to promotion candidates and those interested more widely in policing. And they include aspects around highlights of his career through different forces and across the different departments he's worked in. Some of the expectations, so I asked him for what his expectations are of leaders in his force and why. He's also the National Police Chiefs Council lead for professional standards and ethics, so I asked him about what exactly he would like to see sergeants and inspectors doing to improve standards and culture. I asked him for advice that he can offer listeners who aspire to promotion in the police service now. We also looked at what he expects from leaders when supervising and managing investigations to ensure the force can improve in this area. And again, as the National Police Chiefs Council lead for police exams, I asked him for his views on the sergeants and inspectors promotion exams, and specifically how forces can better support officers to ensure a level playing field in achieving this first major step towards promotion. Then we talked about values of West Midlands, and last but not least, we talked about what inspires him personally and advice he might give to himself as a younger officer. So that's what this podcast is all about. In the interim, if you want to get involved with the Rank Success podcast, you've got something interesting to say on policing or promotion and or leadership, please just get in touch to arrange an interview. I'm happy to share my platform if you've got a story to tell, either by writing a guest blog post, which can be anonymous if you wish, and or recording a verbal message to feature as a guest on the podcast. As I say, I'm happy to share my platform to promote a diverse range of perspectives in policing whilst creating informative content for you. So I hope you enjoy the podcast. And for info for the next minute or so, I'll be giving you a quick overview of the support that Rank Success offers aspiring cops and the benefits of becoming a podcast subscriber. Then we'll get straight into the episode, and you can let me know your views in the Q&A on the podcast notes. At Rank Success, I'm committed to giving you the best police leadership development, levelling the playing field of promotion, whatever your budget and wherever you are. I invite you to explore my free blogs at policepromotion.blog and videos on my YouTube channel. There's topical police news, salary information, deep dives into diversity, CVF explainers, explanations of promotion assessments, and various aspects covering your police leadership and ongoing CPD. All this content will firstly help you become a better police leader, and then secondly, to succeed in your promotion process. To go further, you might consider becoming a subscriber of my podcast. Not only will you be supporting the free content I create for others, but for just $4.99 a month, you'll also get extra subscriber-only episodes and have access to the best of my back catalogue, whilst also getting an exclusive 25% discount on my market-leading promotion materials. There's no commitment, and you can cancel any time. You want to smash your promotion with tried and tested prep? If you've got an upcoming board or you just want to get ahead of the competition now, consider my structured, succinct and rank-specific toolkits. These help focus your effort on the right things, including examples of what good evidence looks like, explainers of the CVF, plus a myriad of other essential bespoke content to help you achieve your aspiration. Others have described these materials as a godsend, gold dust, and as helping to tame the monsters in your mind, and there's nothing else like it. You can see countless testimonials on my website from successful cops who chose the Rank Success approach, and there's e-guides, my professionally recorded promotion masterclass video, plus my in-depth CVF explainer video. All this and more is available from my main website at ranksuccess.co.uk, and the return on investment will arrive in your first month's salary increase alone. So that's an overview of what I can do for you, and without further ado, Let's get into today's podcast. Hi, Steve Cooper, Rank Success, and welcome to another Rank Success podcast. And my guest today is Chief Constable Craig Guildford, QPM, who is the Chief Constable of West Midlands Police. Welcome, Craig.
Good morning.
And thank you for setting aside some time today for this Rank Success podcast. I really appreciate it. I know you're busy. We'll get straight into it. You've had a long career to date, spanning various roles across specialist ops, crime, national and local functions, and different forces. So what have been some of the highlights for you as you've progressed through the ranks to become Chief Constable at West Midlands Police?
Well, I think I'll just reflect on what an old chief once said to me many years ago, which was enjoy the ride. And the three best ranks that he'd served in, I think were probably right, actually. So I will say DS, probably the most enjoyable. Chief Superintendent, which was probably, I would say, the first time from a personal perspective you were in charge of your own train set and budget. Mm-hmm. And then Chief Constable. So I will sort of cover those three. So DS, you are still an active doer, but also you've got that supervisory responsibility. So that's the first time when you take that step on your leadership journey, where you're responsible for people as well as the successful delivery of whatever the task or the challenge is in front of you. So some very happy and enjoyable times doing that across lots of different policing specialisms, but mainly within the CID arena, both locally, regionally and nationally. And then Chief Superintendent, Area Commander for 3 years. That was in Cheshire, about a third of Cheshire. Again, responsible for all the staff, all the officers, and also it was a time when we had devolved budgets. So a lot of good learning then. And probably I would say that was at the time where there probably politically was most money in the police service. So it was the time of sort of local area agreements, comprehensive area assessments. And it was a time whereby I felt certainly we were getting a lot of work done on the prevention side as well as the detection side of policing. And then thirdly, as chief, huge privilege and responsibility to be Chief Constable of a force. I was chief in Nottinghamshire for just shy of 6 years, and I've been chief here now for just over 18 months. It's a very rewarding position. It's a very demanding position, but it's one which enables you to influence on a significant scale. And the enjoyment is slightly different in those three areas, because obviously you're less hands-on as a chief, but you're more able to direct things and touch the tiller, let's say. But that said, I think I've probably got on the score sheet at every rank. So I miss most front-end policing, I would say.
As many cops do, I think, and certainly that's one of the key points. Detective Sergeant seems to be a place where people stop off and say, yeah, I really enjoyed my time there, and I think it's a good grounding. Moving on to the topic of promotion then, whenever West Midlands Police and other forces, of course, run a promotion process, I get lots of calls for support from nervous candidates. And as Chief Constable, what are your three main expectations of leaders in your force and why?
I would say first and foremost is operational. So I'm looking for people who can do it operationally, because operational is the key ingredient on behalf of the public. And closely followed after that is an ability to make sure that staff are properly looked after, supported, nurtured, developed, and brought along. So it's not just about getting a task done. It's about how you approach your staff. What's your personal style? Do you understand your staff? Do you understand their strengths and weaknesses? Do you understand how they communicate? Are you able to get the best out of them? Because the team needs to be a mixed team. It's no use having a load of centre forwards if you're playing football, because you'll let a few goals in. And similarly, it's a bit boring if everybody's a goalkeeper. So there's people, how do you as an individual pick up on people's strengths? How do you give them responsibility within some train tracks to be able to sort of manoeuvre themselves to get the task done? Are you able to get the best out of people? So they're the top two. And then the third thing is your sort of growing organisational awareness. The job of the cops is to serve the public, not to serve yourself. Sometimes I see people, and have seen during my service, and people have, failed in the process by really focusing on it's all about them. Well, it's not. It's all about serving the public and responsible as an individual to the public that you serve and to the officers who you serve alongside. And that's an important thing to understand. So those would be my top three.
Okay, thank you very much, and thanks for giving your take on those. The world today is at a very different place, certainly to when I joined up, and I expect to when you joined up. You are currently the National Police Chiefs Council lead for professional standards and ethics. So what are your views on the state of public trust in policing following some high-profile cases, and what exactly would you like to see your sergeants and inspectors doing to improve standards and culture?
So I think that our position is one whereby public trust has been undermined by some recent national events. But I also think on occasions we are the victims of our own success. So if you look back and some of the awful events, so say the murder of Sarah Everard, some of the issues that have come out on various WhatsApp groups, etc., some aspects of abusing position for sexual gain within the police service, those are absolutely abhorrent. And because they've been quite rightly publicised, that has an impact on public perception and public trust and confidence. And as a service, we've just got to do loads more to build that back up. Some of the key things around that are communicating the good things that we do, celebrating our successes, and making sure that we focus on some of those cases whereby perhaps there's a perception that we may have let people down in the past. And specifically, I would say, violence against women and girls, how we've approached rape investigations, what our attitude is towards domestic violence, domestic abuse, and how do we as a service put more emphasis, focus and understanding around those aspects. And then the second bit around our own success is, clearly we've changed and we've influenced how the system has changed. Lots more people are being rooted out and dismissed for serious wrongdoing, which lets me down, you down, and the public down, and all our colleagues down. Sometimes we have to just make sure that we can get through that and break the back of the backlog. I think through COVID, this side of COVID, in most forces, we've managed to do that. I think there's a little bit of a backlog, and I think it's good that the Met have done what they have done. They have worked through a number of cases, very challenging cases, and we've all tried to support them in doing that, but they've still got a few more to weed through. And some of those, the Met and elsewhere, don't make for pleasant reading. But we have to be bold enough to confront them. We have to keep supporting our anti-corruption units in bringing some of those very tricky cases forward. And we have to, as chiefs, set the example. And that then comes back to your question about what do we expect frontline supervisors to do. Number one, you are in charge. You are the playmaker. Your standards are the ones that people will look towards. You don't be too close to the staff, but you need to be close enough to understand them and they understand what you stand for. Where are your lines in the sand? It's not a mate's game. It's a game of professionalism. And there's a distinct difference between that. We're not militaristic, we are professional. And by being professional, we set high standards, we uphold high standards, we come to work, we have a laugh, we look after each other, and we get the job done. But we need to understand, through our supervisory influence, an example where that line lies.
I don't know, that's very clear. There's no doubt about anything you just said there. And thanks for sharing that kind of insight from the standards and ethics as the lead on that. So what would be the best advice? There's lots of people. It's still a very competitive environment for promotions now. So what would be the best advice that you can offer listeners who aspire to promotion in the police service now?
So first and foremost, know yourself. Know what your values are. Know the force values. Know what you stand for. But also remember that this is a process. And processes need a professional approach. To get yourself ready, you need to have spoken to people, engaged with people who have successfully passed the process previous years. You also need to put yourself in positions to expose yourself to new things that ordinarily you wouldn't readily touch. So arguably in my career, one of my probably least welcome appointments, but best development opportunities is when I came back off the Strategic Command course back in the day. I became the director of people services. So my learning curve was pretty Everest-like, but it was probably one of the best jobs I could have been allocated to for a fixed period of time before I left on promotion to ACC. I learned loads. And I think you've got to be able to grab those opportunities with both hands. It might not be the best thing since sliced bread on how it's sold to you, but if you look back, at the times where you're forced into doing those things, you are certainly on a learning curve, and that helps you massively in your future career. So, professionalism, preparation, know yourself, know the audience, learn the process, but also in it, you have to be authentic. If I'm on the other side of the table, I look for people who have got a good moral compass, can demonstrate that they can get things done, that they understand the levers of performance, but most importantly, they're good with people.
Okay, and thanks very much for that. I'm sure some really, really valuable insight there for listeners who will digest those, I expect, and include them in their prep. Moving on to the next question. Investigating crime is a common theme of requiring improvement, if you like. I've put poor performance here, but I know you balance lots of plates and your staff and teams balance lots of plates, and in amongst there is investigating crime. But it's a common theme in the HMIC PEEL assessments across many forces as highlighted as an area for improvement, and quite promptly. It was also for West Midlands recently, and I know you're doing well now at the moment, but what do you expect from leaders on your teams and in your force when supervising and managing investigations to make sure that West Midlands can improve in this area?
So I think you could say this for virtually every police force, because I don't think anywhere has been outstanding or good. I think most places have been assessed as adequate. And I think what's happened over a period of time is the service post-austerity and then with the uplift has recruited at pace and probably has had to promote at pace as well in certain areas. And I've certainly seen that here. And the structures of lots of forces have been, I would say, probably a little bit more reactive to circumstances and fiscal conditions in the last 10 or 12 years. And we're coming out of that now. What you're seeing is that the pendulum has swung a little bit more towards investigations. So I think what that means is that increasingly, and especially with the new government, there'll be more focus around performance and comparing relative performance. And if you look at, say, things like offences brought to justice, it's quite legitimate to ask a question to say, out of 100 jobs, how many have you actually prosecuted? How many have you got a positive outcome on? Because it's not just about, incarcerating everyone. Prisons are full. We have to try and proportionately divert where we can, particularly younger people, away from the system. And that obviously is good for the country, it's good for the cops, it's good for the taxpayer. And the very bad need incarcerating for as long as we can possibly do it for. And the test is to fill the prisons, from my perspective, with people who massively undermine society. So going back to the question, first and foremost, as an investigator, we have to recognise that perhaps we've not invested in some of those skills for supervisors in the way that perhaps it was when I joined. So most forces are reinvesting in supervisory training and trying to upskill. I think that's a good thing. We're doing that, and I know loads of others are. Secondly, we need to make sure that we give people exposure to those investigations. So the way that we used to be structured, we were very siloed. So only a group of people did investigations. So I've changed that, and now we've got lots of cops being investigators first. So if you're a neighbourhood cop in our force, it does not mean that you don't carry a crime workload. Because if I'm living on your patch, I want to make sure you know what's going on, and I can see you making interventions on some of these people that undermine everybody's nice life. So the number of investigators we've actually doubled, and our outcome rate has quadrupled. Our arrest rate has doubled, and we've only opened another 2 custody suites. File quality's improved, it's doubled and a bit more, and I think we're heading in the right direction. But again, back on the question, what am I asking supervisors to do? 1, understand what has gone on, be intrusive, make sure that in your team you are doing the right amount of coaching, because some will be better than others at investigations, some will be better than others at safeguarding, some will love doing road traffic. But you need to know your cops and your staff and push the right jobs to the right people and empower people to do a little bit of informal coaching as well as the formal tutoring. Next, as a supervisor, seek opportunities to develop your cops. So, can we do a quick attachment to the CID, to a priority crime team, to major crime, to homicide? It doesn't have to be an official attachment. If you can afford to spare somebody for 2 or 3 shifts, that's really positive, because those experiences start perpetuating interest. Next bit is when you're reviewing a crime, are you trained on the system? Have you bothered yourself to do some of that online training? And have you also asked questions where you don't know? So let's say the basics first. Open a crime. Where's the investigator's update? Where do you put your requirements as a supervisor on telling me what I need to do? And also, do you know your cops well enough to be able to say, put a few things on one crime for, let's say, PC Guildford, who's probably got a bit more experience, and you might want to go to town on PC Jones, who's struggling a bit and perhaps only just about getting it from your perspective.
A more considered investigation plan, a more thorough investigation plan.
Yeah. And I suppose, if I look in specialist departments such as, say, public protection, on certain aspects of adult safeguarding, if you've got a DC in there with 15, 20 years service, do you really need, as the DS, to be putting, thread to needle on there? No, you don't. You need to be putting sufficient on there against their level of experience, and focus a lot of your attention on developing the new staff that are coming in. Because I think that's dead important, because, a third of the front end have got less than 5 years service. And if you think about the internal sort of wheels within wheels to get people into specialist departments, the age profile and the service profile, more importantly, is younger than it was when I was doing it. And we have to recognise that and view that as a great opportunity, not so much of a challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really interesting to hear you say that around investigations, because I would imagine, as you say, it's an issue for lots of forces, and some of those solutions, those observations and insights will probably cut across many officers on their workload. So in short, to summarise, you're looking at more intrusive supervision by capable supervisors and balancing their approach across those crimes to focus what resilience you have at the relevant crimes. Is that right?
Yes, but also by being honest with those supervisors and say perhaps the organisation could have done more in the past with investing in their development. And that's certainly what we're doing now with the current crop. There's some bespoke bottom-up training, in the classroom, not online, which is from very experienced supervisors on how you approach the system. Yeah. So not just the theory, but making the system work for you as a supervisor to save you time and to get you into the right crime types for the right people that are on your team.
Okay, thank you very much. And as the National Police Chiefs Council lead for police exams, so changing the ethos now, focus now to exams, what are your views on the sergeants and inspectors promotion exams, and how can forces better support officers to ensure a level playing field in achieving this first major step towards promotion?
So I suppose my answer is going to be quite direct and say, I, at the time when I was doing this, was married with 3 kids and, working 3 shifts and everything else that was going on and trying to do a few dissertations, distance learning, blah, blah, blah. So what I'm trying to say is you need to take responsibility as an individual. Don't expect the job to absolutely wipe your backside at all. I'm looking for people who can do things over and above the day job in their own time if they want to succeed. So yes, there will be a ubiquity of, a little bit of time to prepare, some of the coaching sessions and support for those, absolutely 100%. But I pose the challenge back to the individual and say, are you up for it? And if you are, you will put some discretionary effort into your future development, because that is a sure sign of future success. Even if all your trials and tribulations, as mine were at the time, create competition for time, love, attention, dedication, work and everything else, it's really important that you pull your tribe out if you want to succeed. And the organisations will help, but it's a personal thing, in my opinion.
Thank you very much. Again, very clear and on point. Forces are increasingly creating their own bespoke values as part of local tailoring of the competency and values framework, so the CVF. And what I'm seeing more of is compassion. And please, could you just share with listeners more about West Midlands police value of compassion and what you like to see from your leaders, especially to demonstrate this particular value and where you think it's demonstrated?
Yeah, so I think this is a cross-cutter. So CVF, really helpful as sort of, almost like I would describe it as the coat rail for the hangers. And then the examples need to go on the individual hangers. And they need tailoring individually because they don't all fit, or some might be a slightly different size. And there isn't one size that fits all. So that would be my analogy. So values, I think, are important. So for me, service, professionalism, integrity, compassion, and then equality. So when it comes to compassion, this extends to those we serve and also those we lead. So for me, compassion is understanding the impact of the service on others and understanding the impact of you as an individual on your peers and those that you lead. And on occasions, good people do bad things or silly things, and you have to be able to make the right judgment call. So for a long time, as well as leading on professional standards, since I was a super, I've been on the panel of friends. So when people, receive a notice in the post through professional standards, informally, you sort of pick up the welfare issues and talk through the process, etc., and support the individual. And I think from doing that, you see both sides of the coin. So I think it's important as a supervisor that you remember that sometimes people make mistakes and your judgment is imperative in correcting those mistakes. On occasions, those mistakes will be of a very significant scale, but most of the time they're not. Most of the time, with good supervision, you keep nudging people along the right path. And only in exceptional circumstances, I think, should people be placed through the formal system whereby their transgressions need firmly holding to account in the public arena, because I think that's in the public interest. And I think we need to uphold those high standards. But 9 times out of 10, very much it's down to frontline supervision, setting the example, being compassionate, but not being, in some instances, soft, in inverted commas, because you can display compassion while still requiring the individual to pull their socks up, to improve, to desist from doing things, to desist from, having contact with an individual, in their interests. So it's not just all about a big sledgehammer to crack a nut. It's about nudging, making a good judgment, but also remembering that sometimes good people do silly things.
Yeah. One of the, just moving on from that, one of the behaviours that promotion candidates are assessed on is in being able to inspire other people. So deliver, support and inspire, which is on the CV.
DSI, yeah.
I encourage aspiring candidates as part of effective preparation to think about what inspires them and motivates them, not necessarily in the job. And with this in mind, what is it that inspires you? You've got a busy job, manic job, lots of different roles and profiles you fulfill as part of that and voluntarily. What inspires you, Craig?
I love seeing people succeed. So I've always, before the cops, done a little bit of coaching in various sports, etc. And in the cops, I've always been a mentor. So usually to people outside my sort of line of responsibility, let's say, I really like watching people succeed. It's really fulfilling, and that is hugely inspirational to me, number one. Number two, I really like watching teams come together and get results. I just think that's brilliant. I love being part of that team. I love leading that team. And at various ranks, I've really enjoyed nudging that team in the right direction. So success, I think, breeds success. And the third thing that I would say really inspires me is probably grounded from the sort of, that public service ethos of doing a good job on behalf of the collective, because I want to live in society whereby kids are safe, people are safe, and we can make sure that those that massively break the rules, face the full force of the law. So that inspires me too. So to do a good job, serve the public, to coach others, and to lead good teams and to help improve things. They're like my huge success factors. And I go out on a daily basis. I read the daily sheet. Every 24 hours, I am completely and utterly humbled by the endeavours of my staff. And I think I could say that across every police service.
And I think when you get it right, I was having a conversation with a family member a while back who asked to leave, and they're going on promotion, if you like. And they are sad, bit down. And the reason they're happy they're getting the promotion, but they had such a fantastic dynamic on the team together. It's almost like a bereavement. And I said, well, that's your job now, is to make your team as good as that, so that when you leave or they have to leave your team, they almost feel that sense of bereavement because you managed to get somewhere near getting the balance right with all the dynamics of different personalities, challenges to your leadership and development, and you still managed to get near to that point, if you like.
And remember, I think this is a good point for people aspiring to be sergeants and inspectors in particular. Remember how it felt when you were more junior, when the leader or the supervisor inspired you or helped you or made it a real buzz to come to work. What traits did they display when it was going well, but also when the you-know-what was hitting the fan a little bit? Or the wheel was wobbling, let's say, which is a common reference that we use.
Absolutely. And lastly, finally, if you could travel back in time and speak to yourself as a young constable, what single piece of career advice would you offer that young person?
Be yourself, enjoy the ride, and you don't have to win every battle. 3
good points to finish with. Craig Guildford, Chief Constable of West Midlands, thank you very much for setting aside some time in your diary. I appreciate it.
My pleasure, sir.
Thank you. If you made it this far, thanks for listening, and I hope you found that helpful. Let me know your views in the podcast details and Q&A section, or you can tweet me at rank_success. If you or a colleague have got something interesting to contribute on policing, promotion policies, and or leadership, by all means, please just get in touch. I'm happy to share my platform to promote a diverse range of perspectives in policing, whilst creating informative content for you. If you like this podcast, please consider becoming a subscriber. Not only will you be helping ensure I can continue creating free content for everyone, but for just $4.99 a month, you'll also get a load of great stuff on top. This no hassle, cancel anytime offer provides extra subscriber only episodes and access to the best of my back catalogue. Should you want to go further and hit the ground running, you'll also receive an exclusive 25% discount on my market-leading structured promotion materials to help focus your effort. All the best in your career aspirations, and you can see a suite of support on my website at ranksuccess.co.uk, plus my popular free blogs at policepromotion.blog. And until next time, take care, stay safe, and thank you for listening.